everybody, this is Adrienne with Essential Soul Coaching. Today is September the 11th, 2023, and I'm sure you all know the significance of this day of September the 11th from 22 years ago. And so I just want to say that we remember the people who were fallen, who lost their lives, not only the people who lost their lives in the Pentagon, World Trade Centers, and in Pennsylvania. We also remember all the soldiers that died also because of the war that followed September the 11th. So on to the next thing. We want to talk about the Moroccan earthquake that happened over the weekend. So about 2,000 or more people, probably in counting, have died or lost their lives to these earthquakes. And I want you all to understand that we're going to be watching this very closely because in Morocco in 2013, they started this affordable housing project. And in the past few years, they've upped the implementation and funding to support this housing crisis to create workforce housing, which is part of the UN agenda. So we do want to follow this particular path to see if anything is associated with this earthquake is associated with Build Back Better 15-minute smart cities, just like they are doing in Hawaii. So we just want to follow that and make sure that that's not happening. And if it is happening, we need to speak up. And the third thing we want to talk about today is the New Mexico governor just suspended open carry and concealment guns in public in her state for 30 days because an 11-year-old child, I believe, was just shot and killed by a handgun. If you know anything about the U.S. Constitution, there are rights, like called the Second Amendment, where we are allowed to have guns to protect ourselves. And a lot of the things that people have been saying about this conspiracy agenda that people have been talking about lately is that they would never come for our guns, just like they did in Canada, which is a few months ago, they actually stopped the sale of handguns. It's now illegal to sell handguns in Canada. And if she can suspend the right for people to carry guns in her state, what do you think that it wouldn't happen in another state? And I know that a lot of the conservative states are saying, no, it would never happen. But just remember, if you read the UN Agenda 2030, that people have been talking about, and one of the things that's listed on there, that they will come for your guns and they will strip you of your gun rights. And if you've seen lately, a lot of shootings have been going on, and we don't know why. It seems like they can use the excuse for all the gun violence against children to be on the empathy path. All the children that are being shot and killed by guns would be an emergency act to be able to enforce the suspension of these laws. Because she has said, not only is this a mandate for right now, of suspending the open carry and concealment of handguns in public, she says there's a law that she's working on to actually implement in her state. So if citizens break that law, they can be arrested. The good thing about this is a couple of police chiefs who are saying that they're not going to enforce this particular mandate. Does not mean that once it becomes law that they cannot enforce it. It's just saying that because it's just a 30-day suspension of the law in her state, it's just saying that right now it's not a law, and so they don't have to technically enforce it. But think about this: if it becomes a law, they will be mandated to follow the law. And if someone's carrying a gun in public, and there's a law that says you cannot, whether you have a concealment license or not, you can still be arrested, okay? And I think that we need to be aware of what's going on. I went over recently the increasing governor's authority or powers in the event of a natural disaster or emergency situation. And she is claiming that this is an emergency situation where they need to control the guns. So think about it. If she can do it in her state, they can do it in any state. And we already know in Australia and UK, you all don't even have the right technically to have, handguns. And the biggest thing is, if you don't have guns, how do you protect yourselves? If your government should try to become authoritarian or there's tyranny, you cannot protect yourselves. And that is the end game, to take the guns away so people cannot protect themselves. And it's just a thought. You just need to be aware that that's happening. New Mexico has just enacted that suspension. So just be aware of what's going on in your state, in your city, in your county, because laws are being changed now behind our backs because they don't think people will fight back and stand up and say, no, we don't want that law. We refute it, and we want you to reverse it because we did not give you the power, and we will not give you the power to supersede the Constitution. The use of executive powers is also being used in these disasters that are occurring, where they can move people out of their homes in their area, in their land, and place them elsewhere if there's a natural disaster that dictates that the people cannot move back into that property for a particular amount of time. There's more than one way to take your land and your homes away from you. One could be a disaster, natural or man-made. Two could be you lose your job through AI or downsizing, or a company goes out of business, or what have you. Three, you may own your home. People who think, well, I have my home, this would never happen to me. Well, they can raise your property taxes so high that you can't afford your property taxes, especially if you lose your job or you're retired. You're living on a fixed income. So there's lots of ways that the government can take your homes away from you or make you or force you to move out of your home and put you in this affordable housing. And now some people say, well, the affordable housing that's coming up is too expensive. Who's going to be able to afford that? Well, then there's subsidized living arrangements where the government says, okay, you move into these affordable housing, we will subsidize your rent and we will cap the rent. Okay, there's lots of plans going on. You all have to read what's going on to see how it impacts your area. Okay, so there's lots of strategies going on to implement these C40, 15 smart minute cities all over the world. There's lots of strategies going on, and you need to be on your toes. You need to be at these meetings for your city, your county, your state, and you need to be making your voice heard and letting them know that you do not agree with this. And you need enough people. Gather enough people to go to these meetings. Some of these meetings are being held in private, and they should not be. They should all be public, and you all should attend them. And if you don't agree with them, you should be able to speak up and say, I don't agree with this. We don't want this for our area. Because if you don't, they're going to do it. They're just going to do it because they know y'all don't care. Human behavior says most people elect politicians and then walk away for the next 4 years, and all these changes happen, and they look up and they're like, how did this happen? Well, human behavior says that most people will vote but not follow up on the agendas and the promises that the politicians made to you, or they get in and they bring in these other initiatives and attach to the promises that they made for you. They pass these laws that you say, you wanted this law, you voted for this law, but it's all these other things attached to it, and that's how they get us. So we need to be aware. My only thing about this video today is to tell you to be aware of what's going on, connect the dots, understand that there's an agenda going on. You need to know how it's impacting your area, and then how it's going to impact your family and your life. That is so crucial at this moment. Not being able to protect yourself is crucial if a government per se wanted to control its people. The biggest and easiest way is to take away their ability to defend themselves. And then second is food. The third is shelter. So just remember all those things so that you understand what the strategy could be. I said it is. Most likely it is, though, in my opinion. But you need to understand this. This is no longer a conspiracy, people. This is a strategy that's being implemented. In 2015, when all of the politicians were going around saying we need a new infrastructure bill, this was part of it. There's the 5G towers, the affordable housing, the sustainability, and not having cars, and making people live in 15-minute cities. And there's a lot that was in those words. Words mean a lot. And in the beginning, we didn't really understand. We thought it was just going to be improvement in our neighborhoods, and we were going to have more people were going to have jobs working on the roads and working on building new bridges and things like that. But there's a lot more that was involved in that. And we need to understand that there's code words, and we need to understand what those code words are. And the only way you're going to understand it is by attending your meetings. You have to be disciplined to attend those meetings. You have to be disciplined to read it. I know it's boring, people, but guess what? It may be boring, but it could change your life and how you live right now. So it is important, it's vital to not just get out there and vote for people. It's vital to get out there to understand who these people are and what are they trying to change and what are they trying to implement. And the people who are in office, you need to know the same thing. What are they trying to implement? What are they attaching to certain bills? Because you know what? America is a republic and not a democracy. We, the people, govern. It's for the people, by the people, of the people, and those politicians work for us, and we have forgotten that most important thing. They work for us. And it's our responsibility to be able to have oversight over them and the laws and the bills and the rules and the mandates that they're changing, and make sure it's working for us. And if we don't do that, they're going to run rampant with whatever they want to do, and they count on that. So, and anyway, that's my message for today. I hope y'all have a great day. Please read up. I'm going to leave some links at the bottom for you to read up on some items, some articles I want you all to take a look at. I'm going to try to do a cross section from the United States to Canada and some of the other countries so that you can like at least get pointed in the right direction so you can start doing your own research on these things, okay? So anyway, y'all have a great day. Blessings.